Hi, Scott Machine Gun Dad. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to do what I think is probably one of the coolest videos we've done. Is we're going to compare a 249 SAW to an Ultimax 2000, and these aren't no closed bolt semi bolt crap. These are the real deal. So I set them up for this shoot when Nick and Shannon weren't here. So first of all, both of them have fixed stocks on them. Both of them are available with telescoping or folding stocks, so that they're about the same in that. Both of them, as we shot them, have the longer barrel. Both of them come with para barrels are available. We didn't shoot them because this is on titanium to get a replacement, and this one I just didn't feel like cleaning two barrels, so we only shot the one. Now, anybody that's played Call of Duty, I think it's Call of Duty, it has the SAW in it. It was in Modern Warfare. Knows this is a belt-fed gun. It's also a mag-fed gun. We only shot it as a belt-fed. This is entirely mag-fed. But since this is the 2000, it takes standard unaltered M16 magazine. So it'll take the D50 drum, which is kind of important at the end. So both of them I put SIG Romeo 5s on to make it a little easier to shoot. And then what we did was, for accuracy, we both shot 20 rounds out of it. So let's go out to the range and shoot 20 rounds.
How many? From what I can see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
12, and they're all low. The other ones, I mean, they're all low here because you hit this rock and in here, once or twice.
Well, somebody was prone.
All right, we'll see how I do. 12. This is my group. That's from a little over 50 yards with a machine gun. It's sticky. 1, 2, 3. I know there's 20 there. I watched through the scope. They all hit. I can't even count them because they're stacked on top of each other. I'd say that was a success. I'm going to see how the SAW does. All right, Nick, how'd you do with the 249?
Significantly better. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
So you hit it all the times, but you got an up and down string a little bit.
Pulled it just a bit bigger than my hand's breadth, but I'd say that still would put good effect on target.
All right. All right, this is my target with the SAW. When we sighted it in, we put everything here, and if you notice, the first shot was probably right here, and then the gun kind of shifted on its own, and obviously they're all on target, but I might be able to cover it with my fingers wide open. So that's how I did 20 rounds with a SAW.
All right, you just saw a multi-view of the shooting and some slow-mo. 20 round belt we both did out of this, and we both did a 20 round mag out of this. Nick?
This point of the test was the accuracy portion of it, and when it comes to accuracy, the Ultimax 2000 definitely takes the cake. It was easier to get on target, easier to make rapid follow-up shots, and if you were shooting correctly, you were shooting dead nuts. I ended up pulling a bit low. I shot pretty tight grouping. It's just I got a couple rounds on the plate and a couple rounds off the plate. That was just my fault for holding low. You could see when he started to shoot it, it was all dead center. That was my fault, but the accuracy on this gun, fantastic. It holds true. The 249 SAW seems to pull a little to the left. I don't know if that's me or him holding onto it incorrectly, or if it's just a function of the firearm, but it certainly seems to pull a little left. Accuracy-wise, I do think the Ultimax takes it.
They both ran 20 rounds, no problem. This is faster. That's slower. The Ultimax, when you watch the red dot, when you're shooting, of course the gun's going to recoil. There's nothing you can do about it. The red dot in the Ultimax goes like this, up and down. On the SAW, it was kind of doing a circle like this. Almost like the kinetic of the recoil, maybe because it's got the belt pulling the belt through, is making more left and right motion. You don't get that because you're feeding from a mag straight up. There is no left and right on the Ultimax. It just goes up and down a little bit. The Ultimax is way easier to keep on target. The SAW is not difficult. I mean, realistically, if we shot it in 3 to 5 round bursts, we could have probably kept it on the plate. But that's not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see 20 continuous rounds, which one was easier to keep on plate. For both of us, we both shot the Ultimax better. I shot the Ultimax way better than everything, but I think accuracy-wise is the Ultimax. Now, next thing you're going to see is reload. We're going to shoot 5 rounds, reload 5 rounds. I have a little bit of problem with one of the guns. That's coming up next. You can see I had a jam on a reload drill. I did not clear the last link off the top when I put the 5 rounds in, and that's what happens. Hey, you just saw it. You saw Scott fuck up a reload. How does Scott fuck up a reload? That really wasn't a SAWS thing, but it's something you have to learn about the manual arms with a belt fed that you don't have to worry about with a magazine fed gun. You have, when you fire that last round, you've got links laying on the top of the tray. And when I lifted it up and dropped that other one in, I thought I knocked all the links off. I didn't. The gun picked up a link and tried to feed that in the chamber, and after 2 rounds, I think, it jammed. Nick, which one did you think about reloading?
Again, when it comes to reloading, this is a comparison between 2 separate classes of firearms operations. That is magazine fed. It is as simple as push button, drop down, reinsert. With a belt fed machine gun, you get more ammunition, I would say, in a, I guess, continuous platform, because
if you had to, if you were carrying a 200 round belt, yeah.
Extra magazine size can get a little funky when it comes to a magazine dedicated weapon, whereas the belt is just, you could have it in a case, you could have it slung around you, you could have it draping underneath the gun. So more.
What Nick's trying to say is the reload on the SAW is way fucking slower.
Significantly. You get more ammo or a faster reload. That's kind of what you're looking at whenever it comes to reloads. 5 rounds out of this, you have to pull all the way to the rear, all the way forward, pop the top cover off, clear off the links, throw the next set of links down, make sure it's all locked in, drop it down, lock that in place, get up, re-engage. Whereas with this, you don't even need to pull off the gun at all. It is, oh, I'm empty, click, move, drop, go.
Yeah, they're both open bolt guns. They both have no last round hold open. So when the gun's empty, you have to run the bolt back for safety, make sure it catches the sear, and then you start your reload. On the Ultimax, you just drop the mag, put a new mag in, and then you're ready to go because the bolt's already open. On the SAW, you're going to throw the top cover over, and there's something to think about that for people out there that, oh well, you're just throwing the top cover. You have to break contact with a weapon and throw the top cover over. You have to look away from the bad guys to throw the top cover open. You got a magazine. I'm still looking through the red dot when I'm dropping the mag. So, again, in this case, the Ultimax wins, but there is a mag option for the SAW. When I sighted the guns in initially, I used a mag because I didn't want to do 1 link and 1 link and 1 link. But I already did 1 round at a time. One of the reasons we didn't use the mag option on the SAW is I really wanted to show the difference. But, and I don't know if that applies to this generation of SAW, but some of the SAWs were notorious for fucking up the bolt using the mag. And this isn't my gun. It was kind enough to be loaned to me by Ultra Firearms. I don't want to, Paul Chandler and Ultra Firearms, I don't want to damage his weapon. So we weren't going to shoot this with the mag. But you could run mags. Okay, now let's talk about flexibility. Something we can't really show you on film. Flexibility wise, this gun is more flexible because you can run belts or mags. But ideally for me, having to carry 2 types of ammunition sources in a 5-man or an 8-man squad, I think that's silly. The SAW fires too fast and it eats ammo. That means you're going to have other people carrying belts. If everybody's carrying either, what I would do is probably like they did in Infinity War, where they ran a Surefire mag off the side. I want, if my saw goes down, I don't want to have 200 or 300 or 400 rounds of ammunition that my guys with M16s can't use. They've got to de-link it and load it in their magazines. If I'm an Ultimax gunner and my Ultimax gunner or the gun itself goes down, I literally just take his drums and put them in my M16 and dedicate one of my M16s to become the saw and run it until it overheats, because it doesn't have a quick change barrel. One other comparison, and Nick isn't aware of this because we didn't address this, but when we had the jam, he saw how easy it was to take that barrel off. The barrel change on the saw is quicker. And the reason, they're both quick, but the reason that they're not, and I'm going to ask Shannon to zoom in here, the Ultimax has a quick turn. And you have to have this locating pin where my finger is. Can you see that?
It's still.
So when the barrel goes in, it goes in at an angle and clicks over. You've got to locate that pin. In the dark or something, that pin has to line up with a cut. It's not hard to find in the daytime. I've never done it in the dark, but I could see it being a problem. This one, literally, as you push the lever, it comes right out the front. So quick change barrel-wise, saw is ahead of the Ultimax. Gas systems, about the same. Safeties are almost damn near identical. They're both push-throughs. All that's really the same. Optics, they can both have optics. So, flexibility, the saw has the advantage for two reasons. Quicker barrel changes, quick change barrel, and it can run mags and belts. But I don't think belts are an advantage in this type of weapon. I think belts are an advantage in 30 caliber, but I don't think they're an advantage in this kind of weapon if you're operating as a squad. Because a saw goes down, what are you going to do with that 300 rounds of 223 or 5.56 that you can't put in your M16s unless you have empty mags and somebody's sitting there loading it during a firefight? I don't like that idea. Now, we've been talking, and I want you to thank you for coming to the channel. If now comes the cool part. I let Nick run a 50 round belt through this and a 50 round D-mag D-drum through that. That's coming next. All right, this is the result of Nick's 250 round dumps. Saw. He threw a couple off the side. And apparently the saw, and I'm not a saw gunner, so maybe a saw gunner has a tendency to climb this way or move this way laterally. Because he started here and moved that way. This is the Ultimax. Right here. I thought he missed, but it looks like all 50 hit the plate. Alright, you got to see the cool shit. If you're on Rumble. Otherwise you just saw a video edited plate from YouTube. So, pick.
If I was in the world has gone to hell, I need to grab something now, I would probably take the Ultimax. Magazines are certainly easier to get a hold of. It's 5.56, it's less complicated, that kind of scenario. If I was in a squad, I honestly would prefer the 249 SAW, because you have significantly more volume of fire, significantly more ammo, a faster quick change barrel mechanism, and if you have a group of guys dedicated to maintaining this weapon system and moving forward, I think having it be belt fed and keeping that guy's head down is a benefit over, say, having ammo interchangeability, being able to just pop mags out and drop it over. Because a lot of what you see in modern military engagements and modern self-defense shooting engagements is the guy who fires the most bullets is the one who comes out on top. Accuracy by volume is significantly popular, and it works. We have the data for it. I would much rather have a 200 round belt, be carrying that around, complaining that it's a little bit heavier, rather than have 20, maybe a 50 round, maybe if I could find the double drum
beta mags.
Yeah, maybe get a 100 round beta mag, something like that. But drums are notoriously less reliable than a box magazine or a belt-fed magazine or belt-fed feed system. There's give and takes with everything. You have a faster magazine change, lighter overall package, but less overall firepower, versus having more ammo, more weight, having to change your barrel more often, having to carry more ammo. There's give and takes with every one of them. If I'm operating in a squad, I'm taking the more complicated one because I have other men who can cover me, provide fire support, and assist. If it's just me, I'm taking the Ultimax.
All right, for me, I have different reasoning. Assuming it's combat, 5-man, 8-man squad, I'm taking the Ultimax. Why am I taking that? Because we only have to carry M16 magazines. I'd probably put a D50 drum. I wouldn't put a beta drum in it because they're ungainly. I mean, they're really good. The original ones are really good and reliable, but the problem is you have these two big honking drums out the side. It takes all the ergonomics away from the gun. You've now got something that's difficult to get in and out of vehicles, get in and out of doors and stuff. D50 drum, it's easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The SAW would not take in a 5 or 8-man squad unless I was running magazines, and as I said, they have a bad rap with magazines. However, what's nice about the SAW, if I go out on a patrol with a SAW and then I go back to a fire base or something like that and we get attacked, I can put down way more fire with a belt fed than I can a magazine gun. And the concern about the belt ammunition isn't a problem because you're in a static position. Nobody has to carry ammo to you other than out of the store, out of the arms locker, out to the fighting position. You're not lugging it through the field. In private hands, class 3 dealers, basically, the SAW. Why? No fucking parts whatsoever, unless you're me and you've hoarded a few, but there are no parts for this. You can still get parts, still current military weapon. Now, in the world, which would I take? To be realistic, the SAW is a better weapon for the world. Why is the SAW a better weapon for the world? Well, how many countries adopted this and how many countries adopted that? And you say, well, the U.S. has adopted the 249. Yeah, but this is the FN Minimi, and the FN Minimi is in service like 20 different countries. And they're probably, and this gun probably costs more to buy than this gun. And that comes down to, again, if you're the Congo or some bullshit little country where you're not an offensive force like the U.S. Marines, you're a static defense force, a belt fed is a better weapon. You put more fire on your enemy and you don't have to worry about lugging the ammo around. So the belt fed becomes a better weapon. Ideally, what I would say is you would have both. So when you're running your long range patrols, all they have to worry about is carrying M16 magazines, but they still have a SAW. Okay? Then when they get back to base, you put this in the arms locker and you use this one on base. Or this one's real good mounted on a vehicle. This one has no provisions to be mounted on a vehicle. Basically, Ultimax is a really great idea that hasn't come all the way through to development. Because it was really never adopted by anybody but Singapore, they didn't bother to think like the U.S. military, where you can attach a tripod, where you can attach a vehicle mount. One thing we didn't talk about is I think the handguards on this are a little less prone to getting hot because they're bigger and they have a hell of a heat shield here. This down here isn't going to get hot, but up here you're right up against the bottom of the barrel, and the only heat shield you have is a little piece of thin steel and some asbestos. I love the Ultimax, but in real world, if I was a defense contractor for Portugal and I needed to buy weapons, I'd buy the SAW because I only can afford to buy one. If I was in the real world in the United States where I have a huge defense budget and I'm paying $3,000 for a toilet seat, I'd buy both. And I know the SAW is better than the HK the Marine Corps bought for their, what do they call it, where they have the heavy suppressed weapon. They're replacing the SAW with it. It's a magazine fed HK. It's in development. I don't even know what it's fucking called.
I don't know.
But this is way better than that because this is an open bolt machine gun and the HK is a closed bolt, so it's going to overheat. So, for fun? What about for fun?
For fun, this barely moves, but that fires faster and has a lot more ammo. So you're breaking the bank with this. It's really, really fun. You run 200 rounds through it real fast. It's cool. It's flashy. You got a lot of smoke. It heats up. It eats your wallet. This one fires significantly slower, has less ammunition concerns, but because it has such little recoil, you're making rapid follow-up shots. You're making a full 20, 50 round burst, hitting the plate pretty much every single time. You could two-tap this thing ridiculously easily.
I think what it comes down to, if you're a new machine gunner, or where you went to Battlefield Vegas and you got to shoot a SAW, I'm not talking a guy that was served with one in the service. You're a new machine gunner and you shoot this, not on a tripod, just off the bipod or even standing or prone like we did. And then you say, okay, I'm going to give you this. When you're done with shooting that, you're going to go, holy fuck. I didn't even have to do any work. That just does all the work for me. Easier to shoot. Fun, I think they're the same. Coolness, there is nothing cooler than a belt fed. So I got to give coolness to the SAW. I know that's kind of an inconclusive decision. Nick likes the SAW all the way. I think the Ultimax has a place. I just don't think it's as universal as the SAW. The SAW, if you're a smaller country and you can only afford one, you're going to have to buy the SAW.
You could use it in every single role you can think of that a general purpose machine gun would be used in. You can mount it on bipods, tripods, weapon emplacements, vehicles. You could give it to your guys out on patrol. You could hold it back on base. You could do a lot with a belt-fed machine gun. Preferably for a lot of your defensive maneuvers, you'd probably want a 30 caliber, a little bit more stopping power.
Yeah, as long as you understand that when you're doing your defenses, this is still a 400 or 500 yard gun versus 30 caliber is 800 to 1,000.
If you had to buy one, the 5.56 belt-fed machine gun will cover all of your bases that you need a general purpose machine gun to do. It might not do them all really well, but it will do them all. Whereas this one would be really good for an offensive moving force out on patrol. It'll be serviceable at an emplacement, but you'll be changing magazines a lot, and that quick change barrel mechanism is not as good as the 249 SAW. Now, it would have gotten better if it had gotten adopted and more iterative, but
as he was talking, this would be, if you go back in history and you read about the SEALs in Vietnam, they used a Stoner 63. This would be exactly what that would be for. SEALs, where you drop, or Green Berets, where you drop them in behind enemy lines. They don't need to carry links. They just run the magazines just like everybody else, but they can lay down heavy firepower. And the gun, we forgot to say, this is noticeably lighter than this.
oh, easily.
So, yes, all-purpose this, specifically purpose it, like your projection of force in small units, I would say this. That's the good way to sum it up. Specialty use, general use. Thanks for coming to the channel. If you're watching us on YouTube and you stuck out this long, you should probably follow the link to go over to Rumble, because really, I'll have some slow-mo of this sucker running 50 rounds. It's pretty fucking cool. Thanks again.